Call 'em.
What's up, Doc? What's cooking? What's up, Doc? Oh, you're looking for Bugs Bunny bunting. Duck is gonna hunting just to get a rabbit skin, but now the rabbit's gonna get. What's up, Doc? What's cooking? Hey, look out! Stop! You're gonna hurt someone with that old shotgun. What's up, Doc? We really mean it. What's up, Doc?
Hello, friends. Are you ready?
What's for dinner? I'm hungry.
Yum, 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 yum.
Delicious.
Let's go, everybody. Yay! Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Zoe's Blind Kitchen Corner. I'm not going to talk very much before we start because we have a complex recipe. I'm just going to obviously remind you guys of Zoe's Blind Kitchen Corner. Whose blind life is it anyways? Subscribe to either or both channels. Like and share this video. And if you need to reach us, whose blind life is it anyway at gmail.com or Zoe's Blind Kitchen Corner at gmail.com. So Christmas is coming up, and this is something we do make on very special occasions. Well, now in Greece, sort of, they make it all the time too. But it used to be a special occasion dish. And for me, it still is. It is a little bit expensive, and it is complex. If you're an experienced cook, I would say this is an intermediate. If you're a novice, it is a little difficult. I wouldn't call this recipe easy. It's easy for me because I've been making it for 28 years, and this is the recipe that I actually, a lot of Greek people are surprised when I tell them that the first ever recipe that I learned to make was this dish. Now, there's a part of this dish. There's 3 parts to this dish. The dish is called Pastitsio. It's, I would say, our version of lasagna. And it's got 3 parts to it: the pasta, the meat sauce, and what's called in Greek bechamel. Now, I think the French call it bechamel. Well, voiceover calls it bechamel. Sorry guys, I don't know what the proper French pronunciation is. So you're just going to say it the way I say it, which is in Greek, bechamel. Now, again, there's hundreds of recipes for this. The base is the meat sauce, the white cream sauce or bechamel, and of course the pasta. Everything else is customizable, add-ins, and so on and so forth. And as you make it, the more you make it, the more you adapt it to your taste, and every person who makes this recipe has their own little tricks and tips and add-ins. So this is my version. I've perfected it in the 28 years, and I've brought it to the tastes of my family. I've made it many times for parties, and I've always gotten the best feedback, and I've been asked for the recipe many times. So this is another reason why I'm doing it. Also, I want to say that a true bechamel sauce, it starts with a roux where you you melt butter, and then you saute your flour or semolina or whatever you're using, because there's many versions of this. Some people use cornstarch, some people use flour, some people use semolina. Pardon me, I'm using flour. And that's called a roux. And when you make the roux, then you slowly add in your milk. And it's a whole process. And it is a little bit difficult. But I was given by my very, very good friend at the time when I was like about 22 years old. And my friend taught me how to make this. Effie, if you're out there watching, hi, miss you. So when Effie gave me this recipe, and taught me how to make this. She taught me how to make a foolproof bechamel sauce without having to do the roux first, so that it can always come out perfect. And I've done recipes with the roux, but for this dish, I won't switch because this just tastes wonderful and always works out great. So, without further ado, I need to read you the ingredients. I have my pasta water already on the back burner. I've got the water boiling, or I've got the water on the heat so that it can boil. In the meantime, I'm going to tell, now I don't have all the ingredients out here on my counter because we're using cheeses, eggs, and milk. And like I said, this is a 3-part recipe, so it's going to be a while before we use those things. So I don't have them out to show you, but I will, you'll see them as we go along the recipe. So, pardon me, cough is getting to me again. Okay, this is a long list of ingredients, pardon me. Now I'm going to read out the ingredients and then I'm going to discuss them with you guys. Okay, we need 750 grams of pasta, which is here. So it's here, and I will explain to you about this pasta. For the ground beef sauce, I have my ground beef here. I still have it in the package. We need 1,100 grams of lean ground beef. 1 heaping tablespoon of tomato paste, which unfortunately I went to get from my fridge or my cupboard and I'm out of. So add in the tomato paste because it'll give it a beautiful aroma. Unfortunately, I ran out. The dish is not a loss. It's going to turn out fantastic regardless. 3 red onions finely processed through your food processor, which I have right here. I've already processed them. 28 ounce cans, 28 ounces of crushed tomatoes. So I have 2 14-ounce cans of crushed tomatoes. Now I've got all my spices, already in a bowl, so I don't take up time from the video. So we need half a stick of cinnamon, 1 pinch of ground cloves, 1 pinch of ground allspice, 1 level teaspoon of sea salt, 1 pinch of pepper, 3 pinches of ground thyme, not thyme leaves, actual thyme, ground thyme powder, 1 teaspoon of dried basil, 1 tablespoon of dried oregano, 2 tablespoons of dried spearmint, 1 teaspoon of celery seed, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 2 or 3 dried bay leaves. I have 3 right there. I have 2 large handfuls of finely chopped parsley. We need a glass of water. So that's for our meat sauce. And I just want to mention, if you can't find spearmint, try. You may be able to find it at a Greek bakery / supermarket. If not, I guess you can just maybe use mint or leave it out altogether. But obviously all these things add to the taste of the dish. For the bechamel sauce, we need, I have it back here, 300 grams of all-purpose flour, 4 eggs, and I have in the, I don't have it out yet. Okay. 70 grams of unsalted butter, 2 pinches of nutmeg, which is just over here. I have my spices, 2 pinches of nutmeg, 1 or 2 pinches of black pepper, and a few pinches, maybe 3 pinches of sea salt. Now, We need 5 glasses of milk. Everybody's glasses are different. I actually have a glass, a specific glass, that I've been using for 28 years. So I've measured out the milk in grams for you guys. So 5 glasses of milk, but you need to divide it. I need 1,100 grams in a large mixing bowl. And 705 grams of milk in a pot with your butter. 4 handfuls or 225 grams of grated kefalotiri cheese. 300 grams of feta cheese. A little bit of cheese for sprinkling on top of the pie. And I'm going to say that the kefalotiri cheese, we've talked about it when we did the meat sauce and pasta. It's a Greek cheese that you can get at a Greek bakery / supermarket. So you would go and you would ask them for kefalotiri cheese for pasta. If they don't understand pasta, just tell them for macaroni or macaronia, if you want to say it like Greek. And they will give it to you. Now, the whole recipe, I'm using 1 kilogram of this cheese. But I've already, from that kilogram, I've taken out the 225 grams I need for the bechamel sauce. So, obviously, I'm left with whatever it is, 775 grams. I'm going to take a couple of handfuls out of that for sprinkling on top of the pie, and the rest I'm going to use in the actual dish, and you'll see how I'm going to do that. Now, the pasta, again, is it this way?
Other way. Like that, but yeah.
Okay. This is the pasta. It's as long as spaghetti, but they're thick like straws. And they've got a hole in the middle. If you go to a Greek bakery and you actually tell them pasta for pastitsio, number 2, if you remember number 2, and you tell them macaroni for pastitsio, number 2, they will give these to you. They come in 500 gram packages. So I've got a full package here, and I've got a half a package, okay, which I've measured out already. So this pasta is important. This is actually made for pastitsio. This pasta is important because I'm not going to break this pasta. We want to hold the dish together. So with the cheese and the ground beef and everything, you'll see. If you really can't find this particular pasta, I have made it once a long time ago, maybe 25 years ago, for a friend named Paul. Paul, if you're out there watching, hi. I made it for him, and I couldn't get this pasta for him at the time. So I ended up using ziti, and it turned out pretty good. Not exactly the same, but it still turned out good. The only other thing I can suggest, I've never done it, so it's just a suggestion, maybe fettuccine noodles, but they're not round, right? The fettuccine noodles. So it's not going to have the same texture, appearance, and taste. So try to get this pasta, okay? Now, I'm not going to use the flour right now, so I'm just going to move it. And I should mention, while our water is boiling, I'm using a huge stainless steel pan. It's large. I don't know if you're old enough to remember, in the 80s, a lot of people used these types of pans for lasagna. Like Italians who cooked up for a big family. We tried measuring this, and it's approximately 13.5 inches by 15 point something. And it's deep. It's almost 3 centimeters, or 3 inches deep, 2.68 or something like that. So it should be deep, a little deep, and it should be large. It's a large rectangular pan. All right, our water's boiling, I think. Ow. Yes, it is. Now, trick with the pasta. Remember I said these are, whoops. These are long, my package opened here. This is long pasta. So I said they're like straws. They've got a hole in the middle. They're like straws. When you put the pasta in the pot, you are not to break these. And they are going to stick out of the pot. Don't worry. I'll show you. Okay. Oh. Sorry. Forgot to get a scissors, so I'm just biting the package open. Okay, so I feel for the edge of the pot and tip them in. Okay. Grab a sturdy spoon, like a wooden spoon, and start, I'm just going to move something out of my way so I won't spill it. So start pressing them in with your wooden spoon. Feel the pasta, you can feel it at the top of the edge of the pot, and start pressing it in. Pressing it in. And you can even, if you're not afraid, you can even go like that with your hand, but it's a little dangerous because of the steam. Just keep pushing them in. You want all the pasta, you want it to slowly bend in without breaking. So I'm just putting pressure on the pasta in the boiling water, and it's slowly going in. If you really find it difficult, I guess you can break them. I don't like breaking them. Like I said, you need this dish to bind together in the end. You want to be able to cut it like lasagna. And I feel with my spoon that they're not all in the water yet. So I'm just pushing down. And I'm a little bit uncomfortable because I'm on an angle right now, so the camera can show you what I'm doing. So it's a little bit harder for me. But they're almost in. I can feel them. Sorry, I'm switching hands because I'm exhausted. It's a little hard to do. And make sure you're holding your wooden spoon at the tip, because you don't want to burn yourself. Now, they're pretty much in. I still have a few more, but I need to set the time because I don't want these to overboil. Okay, I've set the timer for 9 minutes. You want this pasta pretty al dente because it's going to cook up in the oven as well. So basically we're making a Greek pasta casserole, I would call it in English. So just a few are giving me a hard time, but they'll get in there eventually. Now don't feel bad if a few break. The object is not to break them, but if they do, oh well. Okay. And if one isn't in the water, please don't worry. Or a few. Try to get most of them in. And I'm lucky because I've mentioned this before. I'm using that stainless steel pot that's got a strainer built in. Well, it sits right in the pot. And I'm still pushing while I'm talking. I'm still pushing them in. But we're pretty good. Like I said, if you have a couple that aren't, we're okay. So I'm just going to grab a little plate to put my wooden spoon on. Okay. Now, I'm going to need the sink free, so I'm just grabbing some garbage out of the way. Okay. Now, while that's cooking up, I'm just going to open up the ground beef. And I'm just going to move over to the pot. I have the non-stick pot on my front burner. And I'm just going to take the beef out of the package and add it into the pot. And yes, that's a huge piece. Which right now I'm going to break up a little bit with my hands. So it was one piece, it looked like a meatloaf. So I'm just breaking it up. Obviously, we've done meat sauce in the past for spaghetti, so you know the trick. We're going to we're going to use our straight-edged wooden spatula. Okay, just a little bit. We're going to use that to break it up. I'm just going to add my spices all in. Burner is off, right?
Yeah.
No. I'm telling them. So I'm just adding in all the spices. Done. Not the parsley yet. Not the tomato yet. Onions. Okay, let's go over back to the pot. So we've got the ground beef and all the spices, which I had ready in a bowl. And I'm gonna add in the onions. And when you process the onions, juices and all go in here. Okay, put this away. Now, let me stir up the pasta a little bit. Just giving it a stir, okay? All right, now, I'm just making room on my counter because we're gonna need the room. And I will show you why in a few seconds. We've got 4 minutes left on the timer. Going to grab my, whoops, left the cupboard open. Yes, my straight-edged spatula. Now, this is a recipe, and I'm sorry, I have my back turned to you. I'm looking for the spatula. Okay, no. Okay. This is a recipe that you can definitely do on your own, but don't be foolish. If you have help, ask for it. Because it is a complex recipe. So our pasta's almost done, and we need to start the ground beef. We're going to cool down the pasta, but the ground beef itself, we can't really do anything to cool it down. So, yeah, okay. Now, what I could do is, I can put you guys on hold, but I've got 3 minutes on my pasta. And I could start the ground beef, but right now I need to drain the pasta. So, we have two choices. I either wait for the pasta to be done and then start the ground beef, or I call my mom to start the ground beef. So, Ma, she says she's up to it. So, my mom is going to start sauteing the ground beef like I've showed you guys in the past. So, we have the spices, the onions, the ground beef, and she's going to slice through the ground beef and chop up and saute the ground beef, get all the pink out, okay? And then I'm actually going to get a glass so we can have ready for water. Ah, não precisa tomar, mami, que caldo. Now, remember I said I don't use tap water. So I'm going to rinse my pasta, but I'm going to rinse it with my spring water, which is room temperature. I'm still going to stop the boiling process, even though it's not freezing cold water. So I'm just giving the pasta a last stir. So high to Yes. Yeah. So Mom has the burner on high until it starts to sizzle. And she's just mixing up all the spices with the beef and the onions. And she's going to turn it down eventually. She's going to turn it down eventually and just saute it and slice through the beef and get it. Now, if you don't get the ground beef as fine or as small as you think it should be, don't worry. You're going to use your hands to mix up the pasta with the sauce. I know that sounds strange, but that's how it's going to be done. So at that point, if you feel really large chunks of beef, just crumble them in your hands. Okay, I'm just wiping up the counter so I can... Okay, so I just wiped up the counter so I can place my square big lasagna pan here beside me. I'm going to turn off the burner. We've got about 30 seconds, or no, 10. Let's turn off the timer when I find it. Yep. Okay. And I'm going to pull the pasta off the burner and into my sink it goes. Remember I explained to you how this pot works, so I'm going to lift the pasta and let it drain. So I lifted the strainer and I'm just letting it drain and shaking to get as much water out. I'm just going to... I just put the strainer down on the edge of my sink, and I'm actually holding it from the one handle with my hand. And with my other hand, I'm going to slowly tip the boiling water out of the other part of the pan. And it's a little hard to do with one hand. But it's not like it can't be done. You just have to have a little bit of patience. And always away from you because of the steam, and I'm still getting some steam. So, I'm just going to put the strainer back in the empty pot, and I'm going to dump water into the pasta. You're just going to run it under a tap. So I'm just cooling down the pasta and stopping the cooking process. And now it's cold. I'm not sticking my hand all the way in. I kind of have my hand on top. And I'm mixing up the pasta with the fresh, cool water. And now I can actually put my hand all the way in and it's not burning. The water's warm. So, that's good enough. Put this jug aside. Okay, again, lift up the strainer now. Re-strain your spaghetti from the cold water. If you're doing it in a strainer, you don't have to do this. Okay, and throw the water out. Okay. All right. I'm just going to grab a bag of cheese out of the fridge. Okay, so this is just a plastic bag. They've graded my kefalotiri cheese. So you go to a Greek bakery and ask them for kefalotiri, grated kefalotiri for spaghetti. Just tell them for spaghetti. And they'll give you the right type. Tignan it aquí. Okay. Now, my mom says it's almost, the ground beef is almost sauteed. So, I'm just, before I move on to the next step with the pasta, I'm going to get the water ready for her. So give me 1 second. I'm just going to fill up a glass of water. Okay. All right. There's more water, mommy. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Okay. We don't need this plate any. Oh, actually, we do need the plate. Mommy, here, to put the spoon on, the spatula. Okay. Now, when my mom finishes sauteing, I usually use a timer. I saute for about, I would say about 7 minutes is good, 7-8 minutes. At that point, we're gonna add in one regular glass of water, and when I find it, and all the parsley. If your parsley sticks to your bowl, save a little bit of water, put your parsley in, and then pour a little bit of water into the bowl to wash out the bowl so you get all the parsley in. So parsley and water. Okay, so I've got my square pan. You're gonna pick up pasta with your hands and throw it into your pot, now, into your pan. Shake a little bit when you grab it, so if there's any water. And I'm spreading out the pasta. Don't put your pasta all in one place on top of each other. Spread it out. Okay, one more handful. So I've grabbed, maybe this is my 4th handful. Okay, good enough. Don't worry if you feel empty spaces. Don't worry. So, we put in a layer of pasta. Where's my bag of cheese? Grab handfuls of cheese and start sprinkling it all over this pasta. Just keep grabbing. I'm on my 2nd handful already. And sorry, this is a long and complex recipe and I'm going a little bit quick. Now, how do I know if I've covered all my pasta? You don't cover it completely, but you want to feel cheese almost everywhere. Okay, there I feel a corner that doesn't have any. Okay, and another corner that doesn't have any. Okay, and I feel another spot. And one more spot. Okay. Mommy. Okay. Now, grab another handful of pasta. Put it on top of the first layer of pasta with cheese, spreading it out. And another handful. And one more. Okay. And again, now, cheese again. Cheese. And if it's got a few little big pieces, just break them up with your hands and let them drop. Sometimes when they grate the cheese, they've got like some left over. So when they finish grating, a thin strip was left, they just throw it in the bag. And that's fine. Eat it, throw it in, do whatever you want with it. And again, and I'm, yeah, with okay, so now Mom is gonna pour the water. Yeah, pour the parsley. Parsley goes in. And now the water. And he's parsley left in your bowl. Yeah, so she's putting a little bit of the water in the bowl.
Okay.
Okay, so now she's gonna stir it up.
Okay.
Okay, cover the pot, and when it starts to boil, we're gonna set the timer for 20 minutes. Now the whole time that I've been talking, and I guess the camera was showing the ground beef, I'm still adding cheese to this layer. Is that okay? Is that okay? Yeah, that's fine, Mom. Okay. So I put quite a bit of cheese on this layer because it's our second layer. You know what? What did I do with the timer?
Right there.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. So I have the timer set, but I didn't press start because our ground beef isn't boiling yet. Okay, so another layer of pasta. Again, lift and shake a little to get rid of, most of the excess water. And actually, this is my last layer. Now, don't worry if this isn't even, guys. I told you, we're going to mix all of this up with the ground beef sauce. So I'm just adding in the last pieces of pasta. Just throwing them into the pan. Whoops. Okay. Okay, all the pasta's in. And now, hold on. I need a bowl. I need to save some cheese for sprinkling on top of the pie. So, I'm going to grab one huge handful, throw it into a bowl. 2 handfuls. And there's a piece. I don't want the piece for the top. And there's another piece. I don't want it. So I'm just throwing the pieces into the pasta. I'm just making sure that there isn't any really huge pieces. Okay. So I've got 2 handfuls. Let's see. And I'm going to add now cheese onto my 3rd layer of pasta. Is that boiling?
Yeah.
Okay. Need to turn it down to medium. Okay, and we're going to set the timer. We've already set it. We're going to press start. Okay. So now our ground beef is going to boil up covered for approximately, for 20 minutes. Okay. And I'm just adding the cheese to the last layer of pasta. And I'm just going to, whatever's left in the bag now, I'm just going to tip it over into the bag. Yeah, into the pan with the pasta. So 1 kilogram of kefalotiri cheese. Throw that in the garbage. I'm just going to place this cheese that I left for the top of the pie. I'm going to place it in the fridge until we need it. When I find a spot for it. Oh boy. All right. Okay. Hope it doesn't flip over. Okay. So, I'm just leave your pasta as is. There's nothing to do right now until your ground beef is ready. So I'm going to put you guys on hold and come back at the 20-minute mark of the ground beef and show you the next step. Okay, guys? So see you in a bit. Okay, guys. So our timer's going off. It's been 20 minutes. So I'm going to head over to our pot of ground beef. I uncovered the pot. I'm going to give it a stir. And it feels pretty thick. Okay, so we're going to add in, where is it? Our tomatoes. So just remember I told you I have the pull tabs. If you're using a large 28-ounce can, you know, you're going to use your can opener, open it up. So I'm dumping in the tomatoes. Crushed tomatoes. That's 14 ounces. And I'm going to grab the other can. Open it up. Dump this one in as well. Okay. Let's give it a stir. Just stirring up the ground beef with the tomatoes. Now, I need to add water as usual, so I'm just going to grab my jug. So you can tell I'm looking for it. Somebody moved it from here, which is probably my mom, so hold on. Yep. Oh, yeah. So I went to grab this huge jug of water, and my mom basically said, grab the small one. So I've got one of the, empty cans in my hands. I'm going to fill it up with water just over my pot. I've got my finger in the can. Okay. Okay. Can you grab me a spoon, like a soup spoon? So I'm just going to stir up the water with a spoon in the can. Okay, add that in. Okay. And I'm going to grab the other can and do the same thing. Hold it over the pot with my finger in. Whoops, I spilled a little in, it's okay. And again, grab the soup spoon, stir up the water in the can so I can dissolve any tomato that's left. And pour that in as well. Turn up our heat to high. To high. We don't need that anymore. We don't need that anymore. And I'm just going to stir this up again with the water and the ground beef. At this point, you can do that slicing motion if you want. It doesn't matter. Like I said, this is we're going to crumble it in our hands as well. Okay. Now, I'm just putting the cap back on the jug of water, and I'm going to put it away, and I'm going to grab the timer when I remember where I put it. Yep, okay, I'm going to grab the timer in my hands.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 minutes.
So I set it for another 20 minutes. Now it may take 15 minutes on high. Uncovered. Now I want the ground beef uncovered. We want sauce, meaning liquid to our ground beef, but not extremely a lot. A little bit. So 15 minutes might be enough on high. It might take 20. I'll let you know when it comes back. So once this starts boiling, which I'm listening for it, and I can hear the first bubbles happening. So we're almost ready to press our timer. Once that starts to boil, I'm gonna press the timer, and like I said, I'm gonna check on it at the 10-minute mark, 15-minute mark, and see if it needs the full 20 minutes. And then we will come back, once I reach the stage that I want with the ground beef, I'm going to take it off the heat and I'm going to let it cool down a little bit, because like I said, I'm going to mix up the pasta in the pan. Remember, we layered the pasta with the cheese. I'm going to mix it up with the ground beef sauce with my hands. So this obviously needs to cool down a little bit. And then we're going to make the, and then we're going to do the final steps and put it in the oven. So, let me see. Okay, it's boiling, so I'm going to press the timer. Check on it by pressing the minute button or the hour button, whatever, and it's working. So, I have to put you guys on hold because I'm not going to sit here and let you guys just watch a pot of ground beef boiling. So, I'll be back in 15 or 20 minutes, or actually I'll let it cool down and then I'll come back. So, maybe about 30, 45, maybe 45 to 50 minutes. We'll come back and move on to the next steps. See you then. Okay, guys, we're back and we're ready for the next step. But before we move on to the next step, I need to mention two things. One, the tomato paste. When my mom was sauteing the beef with the spices and the onions, just before we added the water and the parsley, if we had the tomato paste, we would move the meat sauce to the sides of the pan, put the heaping tablespoon of tomato paste in the middle of the pan, saute it for about 30 seconds, stir it all up, and then add the water and the parsley. Second note, my meat sauce. So remember, we boiled it with the water for 20 minutes, and then I added the tomatoes, the crushed tomatoes with the extra water, and I said it would take about 15 to 20 minutes. It took 25 minutes to get it to the consistency that I want. So again, you'll see the consistency now. I'm just going to uncover the pasta. And it's still a little warm. I mean, so this is the consistency. I'm going to stir it up so you can see. See, it's pretty thick. It's got some liquid, but it's pretty thick. I want to tell you guys that when I make this on Christmas or Easter, and like I said, Christmas is around the corner, or if I'm serving this at a party to guests, I will do the ground beef sauce from the night before. So I will do it at 11 o'clock at night, and I will get up at 6 or 7 in the morning, and I'll continue on. So my ground beef has been sitting for approximately, whatever it is, 6 hours, and it's cooled down completely. Before I put the ground beef, I need to take off my prayer rope. I have a prayer rope on my left hand. And this is what, it has knots in it. It's made of wool. And Orthodox use prayer ropes. We either have prayer ropes that we wear on our hands or just that we hold in our hands. And there's knots. And every knot you feel, you say the words, Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. And then you move on to the next knot. And you say it again. And then the next knot. And you say it again. Until you go through the entire prayer rope. And usually you do that alone. It's a meditation period to talk to the Lord. And it's good to do that as much as possible throughout the day. And if you don't have a prayer rope, you can just actually say the words inside your head while you're doing things. Maybe you're sewing or knitting or gardening or something, you would just keep repeating that. It's the it's the Jesus prayer, and it's very calming, edifying, and it really does help, and the Lord listens. Anyhow, that's another issue. Anyways, on to our recipe. So I'm just going to pour the meat sauce onto my pasta. No, don't.
Oh.
Sorry. I don't need this because it's thick. I'm just shaking the pot over, and I'm going to put my hands in just to make sure that all of it came out. Now, we no longer need the pot. Now remember, when we cooked this up, I'm just spreading it around. When we cooked this up, if you guys remember, there was a half a cinnamon stick and 3 bay leaves. We need to find those and get them out. Now, remember what I also said about big chunks. So here's a chunk in my hands. Just crumble it up with your hands. Just crumble it up. Any big, huge pieces that you feel. So, I'm just spreading it and crumbling. And of course, at the same time, I'm searching for the cinnamon sticks, or cinnamon stick and bay leaves. And I just found one of the bay leaves. So we've got 2 left. I'm just wiping off whatever was on the bay leaf. Okay. Whoop. And I found a big chunk, so I'm crumbling it up. Okay. I haven't found any more, but we will. Don't worry about it. Believe me. Oh, there's my cinnamon stick. Just wipe the sauce off it. Okay, we still have 2 bay leaves to go. And I'm just, again, I'm crumbling and searching and crumbling. There's my other bay leaf. I just found it. So we've got 1 left. And there's the other one. So there you go. I found the 3 bay leaves. Now, I've spread out the sauce, and now I'm going to toss this all together. I'm just going to mix it all up with my hands. Don't worry right now about evening this out. Just pick up, fold over. Pick up, let go. And I should have worn an apron. Ha 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 ha. And pick up and fold. And bring the pasta to the top. And bring some here. Meaning, I just picked up a piece and moved it to the left of the pan. Now, I'm going to pick up from the right side of the pan and I'm going to take it over to the left. And I put my hand right underneath the whole thing, and I'm just going to flip it over. So just mix it all up. Mix it really well. You want meat sauce everywhere. And then people say, don't lick your hands. When you make stuff like this, and you've got cheese and meat sauce and pasta all over your hands, how can you not? Alrighty. Okay. Now, I've mixed up, and I'm just going to feel around with my hands if there's any large chunks. And if there's any spots that don't have a lot of meat sauce. So there's a lot of meat sauce over here, and there's not much. So my right bottom corner, there was a lot of meat sauce, and my left top corner, there wasn't. So I took a whole bunch of meat sauce from one section and just moved it. Don't fret. This is not rocket science. Okay. Okay, now try to even out your pasta. Try to make an even layer. Feel with your hands, where is there more pasta? So here I've got less, I just moved a whole bunch. And I'm pressing down with my hands. And make sure it's all spread all the way into the corners. And you can take a few and just put them on the side. So for example, let's just say there isn't a lot here at the bottom. I can just grab a few strands and I can lay them on the side. And it's not going to be exact perfect. Okay. Good enough. Let me wash off my hands. Okay. I've got 300 grams of feta cheese, which I have cut up. Now, while you're cutting it up and weighing at the same time, you're gonna get fine crumbs. Leave those in. But I want you to cut up your feta cheese into, would you say this is the size of a dice? Maybe a little bit smaller. Some are a little bigger, some are a little smaller. You don't want them too fine because they're gonna melt. So you're gonna take your feta cheese and you're gonna start sticking them in between your pasta. Just stick them in with your finger. Just go around the pan and stick them everywhere. There's a lot here. So you can even just sprinkle them and then stick them in with your fingers. Whatever suits you. Just stick feta cheese everywhere. And don't forget your corners. Like I just did the one corner. I'm going to go to the right corner and I'm going to stick 2-3 pieces in. I'm going to go to the left corner, left bottom, and stick a couple of pieces in. Now I'm going to go to the top left corner and stick a couple of pieces in. Now let's do the side. So left side of the pan, whoops. Left side. Okay, let's do the right side wall, the right side of the pan. Stick them in. Stick them in. Stick them in. Now imagine being on a fast. And the fast is about to end and you're preparing Christmas or Easter dinner and you're making this and you can't lick your fingers. You can't taste anything. Okay, I'm going to do the top part of the casserole. So I'm sticking them. I'm going, excuse me. So I feel the wall at the top part of the pan, the furthest away from me, and I'm just about half an inch away and I'm just going across and I'm just sticking pieces everywhere. Okay, let's go to the bottom part of the pan. Do the same thing. You don't have to be exact. We just want to get as much as we can everywhere. And some pieces, when you cut this, some pieces will have more, some pieces will have less. My mom, who's a big time feta lover. Now I'm gonna go towards the middle of the pan. My mom, who's a feta lover, no matter how many pieces of feta she gets in her piece, she always complains it isn't enough. And my husband and my mother eat feta like, I don't know, like they're on a desert island and this is the only food they have and they must finish it all. Don't get me wrong, I like feta too, but they really like it. They could easily go through a kilogram of feta in a week. And that can get quite expensive, so it's good to be a little more, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but you know what I'm saying. I'm just rambling while I'm doing this, so I'm keeping you guys company. Okay, well, you guys are really keeping me company. Now, don't worry if some are just lying on the top. You don't have to stick them all in, but, you know, try to stick most of them. And if you feel like a large piece, just cut it. Okay. I just dumped whatever's in the bowl, because my hand's getting tired of holding the bowl. And I got rid of all the crumbs. And I'm gonna just spread and push in. Push in. Push in. Push. Push. Oh. So I felt a lot in one section and I just grabbed a whole bunch and I moved it to the bottom of the pan where I felt like there was a little bit. Okay. I just want to move a pasta there. And this is also, I'm also feeling at this point my, you know, how much pasta is where, and if I want, I can move some pasta. And I'm just pushing down again. Okay. Okay. Now wash off our hands. Now, remember what I said about intermediate and difficult and whatever? I can do this whole recipe on my own, and I've done so in the past, but don't be proud and foolish. If you've got help, ask for it. Because it's a complex dish, the more help you have, the better. So, I'm just going to grab a fork. We're going to move on to our sauce now. And my mom is going to help. I've got 4 eggs. I'm just going to break them into the bowl. 1. 2. 3. There's even a, I lost my egg. Aha! Rolled away on me. There's even a chef in Greece who actually puts beaten eggs into his pasta mixture. So just the way we did the pasta ground beef mixture, he puts beaten eggs into it to keep it together. I don't. I've never needed to. Like I said, there's a lot of different recipes, and people do different things. Okay, so I'm gonna give these eggs a little bit of a beat. So just with a fork, it's like a back and forth motion, but also a circular motion. You just want to dissolve the egg yolks. You don't want you don't want the eggs to change color. You don't want it to get frothy, but you don't want any egg yolks either. Good enough for now. Now, I've got my, huh? Hold on a sec. Hold on. Mommy, move. Herkese. Mommy, herkese. Come here for a second. I personally think that maybe... Πώς το βλέπεις αυτό το τυρίγι από πάνω? Θέλω να κάνω cover με την επιφάνεια. Λίγο ακόμα?
Λίγο ακόμα.
Okay, I personally think that I didn't save enough cheese for the top, so I'm just going to grab a little bit from the cheese for my sauce. Okay?
Yep.
Okay, leave that aside. Okay, so this is the cheese here for the top of the pie. We're not going to use it quite yet. I've got my nutmeg, my pepper, and my salt somewhere. Salt. I've got my cheese for my sauce, my flour back here. I've got the milk in the bowl, which is the 1,100 grams, and I've got my lightly beaten eggs. So I'm going to move over to the burner. I'm going to turn on my burner to medium high. Thank you. In here, I've got 70 grams worth of unsalted butter, and probably the camera can pick it up. And I've got my 705 grams of milk. Now, I want this to warm up, so I'm going to turn it down to medium. Sorry, medium. Now, my mom, while I'm keeping an eye on this butter and milk, Mom is going to take the flour. Mommy.
Ναι, ναι. Πρέπει να πάρω κουτάλι.
No, why the whisk, Sucho?
Αλλά με το κουτάλι θα το ρίχνω λίγο για να λιώσει.
Okay. So, a little bit at a time, the flour, a little bit at a time. She's going to spoon a little bit in and whisk in the milk that's in the bowl. You want to whisk the milk and flour slowly and constantly because you don't want any lumps in it. I have to tell you that when I do it by myself, I sometimes do stick my fingers in to see if all the flour has dissolved. And I stick my fingers in and I dissolve, I help the flour to dissolve. Sometimes I don't find lumps. Depends on how slow you add in the flour. The trick is to add it in slow. And that's what Mom is doing. While my butter is melting in the pot and warming up the milk that's in the pot. And I have it purposely on medium because one, this sauce needs to be done at medium, but two, it gives her time, or if I was doing it, it gives me time to whisk in the flour. And there's big chunks of butter in my milk on the burner, in the pot, so we're good. The butter hasn't even melted yet. And Mom is still adding flour and whisking. Adding flour and whisking. She's got I've got her a big mixing bowl. So she can stir vigorously without worrying about it splattering all over the place. Now, if your butter melts before you're ready with the flour milk mixture, don't worry. Just pull the pot off the heat until you're ready to add the flour mixture. And when I'm doing it alone, I've had to do that. How you doing there, Mama?
Mhm.
You have a lot more?
Mhm.
More than half?
Yep.
Okay, so Mom's got more than half the flour, and I don't feel large chunks of butter. I do feel chunks, but not large ones in my pot. So we may still have to pull this off the heat. We'll see. But this is a sauce that usually will turn out really, 99% of the time that I've made it, it's turned out fantastic, and it's never curdled on me or anything to that effect. And this is actually simpler than what I mentioned to you guys of doing the French way with the roux. And I still have a chunk that hasn't melted, so we're good. And I'm just stirring it, so, because I don't want to let it boil or anything like that. I'm actually going to stick my finger in quickly. Oh, it's just warm. It's not boiling or hot. Now, I wouldn't have done that if I heard boiling sounds. I know it's not boiling. But I didn't know if it's really hot or if it's warm, and it's warm. So, at this point, the temperature I felt in my finger, which is like, it's not even hot, it's warm, is a good temperature for you to add in the flour milk mixture. So if she's not ready in the next minute, I am going to pull this off the heat. Yeah, so it's getting a little warmer. But we're still okay. We're still safe. What is that? Maybe it's Vamos a stuffy. So she added the final bit of flour, and she's just whisking it to get all the lumps out. And I actually just stuck my finger in the milk again, quickly.
Okay.
And I didn't burn myself, so we're good. And she's pouring it in. Slowly, Ma.
Okay.
So she poured the whole flour mixture into my melted butter with milk. At this point, I can stop stirring for a second, or I can get Mom to stir. It doesn't matter. And I'm going to grab the pepper. And I'm going to add 2 pinches. I do say 1 in the recipe, but I feel like adding 2 today. Here, Mom. Give it a stir with the pepper. And nutmeg. Ground nutmeg. If you have nutmeg to grate, it's even better. 1 pinch. 2. And a small one, 2.5. Okay, take that. Let's give it another stir. Now our heat is on medium. And I'm grabbing the sea salt. Oh, and it's really low. How can I get, okay. I just grabbed a pinch. One. That's a half because I can't grab it good. That's another half. Okay, that's good enough. I put in about, here, Mom, 2 pinches. 2 large pinches, I would say. Stir up. Now, I used to have a family member where every time I made this sauce, he would come over my shoulder and he would turn up the heat because he would see me sitting here stirring forever. Remember I mentioned in another recipe, good things come to those who wait. You can't rush this sauce. You risk burning, and I am using my trusted non-stick pot, but you gotta constantly stir. If you don't stir, it could burn. And secondly, you might get globs of flour. You keep stirring to make sure the flour stays dissolved because you want a smooth sauce. And you want this to thicken up. Right now it's just liquid. You want it to thicken up like pudding, like we did the halva. Excuse me. And I need my cheese next to me. And I've got the eggs next to me. So we've pretty much added everything for our sauce except the eggs and the cheese. But it's way too early to add them in. And at this point, I'm also going to preheat my oven. Yeah, okay. Somebody, Ma, did you change the buttons here? Oh, never mind. Bake. Yakita is at 350?
Yep.
Good. So I just preheated the oven to 350. We're going to wait for it to preheat because we're almost ready to put this in the oven. And I'm going to bake second level from the bottom because I told you guys before, if I bake at my last level from the bottom, it burns my food. It's too hot there. It's got a level really close to the oven floor. And I hardly ever use that level. So if your level in your oven, if your level is not too close to the oven floor, then that's where I would put this. The first level from the oven floor. This needs to cook in the oven for about an hour and 5, an hour and 10 minutes, even just an hour. We need to get a light golden color on top. I'll show you the result and you'll see. Now, if you're blind, you're going to tell me, well, to be on the safe side, leave it in for about an hour and 5 minutes. Have a sighted person confirm and then write it down. Say that 1 hour and 5 minutes gave me the golden color that I want at the level of my oven where I placed my food at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And if at the 1 hour, 5 minute mark, it's not quite as golden on top as you'd like, then you would just turn on your broil for a couple of minutes. But again, the first time you make it, have a sighted person confirm, or just go with the 1 hour and 5 minutes. It still will be done. It'll be good. We're going to sprinkle the pie with cheese. And we want that cheese to get a little bit of a golden brown color. Not too dark. So, but even if your cheese doesn't get that color, it's still cooked. So don't worry if you don't have sighted help and you really want to make this dish, which I do recommend. It's scrumptious. It's delicious. It's to die for. If you're not a fan of white sauce, like Alfredo sauce, these types of sauces, then yeah, this dish is not for you. I still would say try it. But if you really hate white sauce, I mean, let me put it to you this way. The people in my house hate Alfredo sauce. I love Alfredo. They hate it. But this, they love. Most of the people in my house don't even like macaroni and cheese. But this, they love. So you never know. This could be something where you try it and you just die for it. When we take it out of the oven, we have to let it sit for 2 hours. You cannot cut this right away. It needs to sit for at least 2 hours. So as you can see, all this time that I'm talking, I'm also stirring. And I'm actually telling you things that I do want to tell you. I'm not just wasting time. So for example, and I'm starting to feel it thicken up, so I'm going to increase my speed of my stirring a little bit. This is a dish. If you have the time and you want to serve this to guests, like I said, make the ground beef from the night before. Get up in the morning, boil your pasta, assemble the pasta, cheese, meat sauce, and feta cheese, and then do this, the sauce, the bechamel, put it on top and put it in the oven. So when you wake up in the morning, you can actually probably have this in the oven in an hour. And then another hour for it to bake, and then another hour, 2 hours for it to sit. So 2, 3, you need 4 hours even in the morning. So if you want to serve this for lunch, let's say lunch is at 12 p.m., so 11, 10, 9, 8. You need to start this at 8 in the morning, 7:30, 8 in the morning. If you're going to serve it for dinner, and you are making the meat sauce on the same day like we are today, start early. Start around noon, so that by 8 o'clock in the evening, you can cut this up. Or again, you can do the meat sauce in the morning or the night before, and then start this around 12, 1 o'clock, and it'll be ready for supper. So like I said, this is getting a little thicker. So we're almost to the point of adding the eggs. And I have to tell you that my ears have gotten so sensitive and so accustomed to the sounds of the stuff I'm cooking that I can even tell this is thickening up and boiling. This is actually boiling. But I can tell from the sounds. From the sound the spoon makes when I stir it, from the way the sauce, as I'm stirring, from the way it hits the walls. So I've called my mom. I could have just grabbed the bowl with one hand, but I don't. Since she's here, why shouldn't I use her to help me? Because I don't want to stop stirring. And I don't want my eggs to become an omelet in here. So I want to, yeah. So, siga. So she's going to pour it in while I stir vigorously. Okay, she poured in the eggs for me. And I'm continuing to stir. And it's starting to give me the resistance I always talk to you guys about. And soon we're going to start pouring in the cheese. I want it to thicken up a little more before we actually put in the cheese. So you can hear my spoon. I purposely shut up there so you guys can hear how fast I'm stirring. So if I were to count my stirs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm stirring quickly, and I'm going around the edges and in the middle. Edges and in the middle. But it's still pretty, it's not as thick as I would like. So I also want to mention, before we start adding the cheese, and I will let you guys know, I'm just going to do not stop stirring. Sometimes flour makes a difference. So I find that organic flour because I am using organic flour. I find sometimes that organic flour, you need more in comparison to your commercial all-purpose flour that you buy at the supermarket. Sometimes flours are different, brand to brand. They're different. And it has to do with what's in the flour and the type of wheat they've used. Mami ala, ina to kano monimo.
That's okay.
So I've called my mom. She's gonna start putting in handfuls of cheese. So you're gonna put in a handful, Mami rikse mia hufta. And I'm just gonna stir, 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 and let this melt. Just wait a minute before you pour the next handful, or even whatever, 30, 40 seconds. Okay? Yeah. So she just poured another handful, and now it's getting really thick, and I'm stirring really quickly. And another handful. And I'm sweating buckets over the stove. We've got one handful left. Okay. That's it, right? You get these? Oh, your handfuls are small. Okay, she's got small hands. Rixto, rixto, rixto. Okay. All the cheese is in. And I had her, because she's got small hands, so it took her five handfuls, because I want this to melt because it's thickening up on me. It's nice and thick. But, oh my God. All the steam is... Just now? Mm-hmm. Anyways, we had an accident with the camera. I hope you guys didn't miss too much. We added the handfuls of cheese, and I slowed down my stirring so I can see how thick it is, and it's really nice and thick. So if you see, it's nice and thick. Okay, so I'm just going to turn off the heat. So Mom added the handfuls of cheese slowly. I hope you guys saw that while I was stirring to melt the cheese. I actually still have the pot on the stove, and I'm just stirring, and we're good. So I'm gonna pull it off the burner. Do you know how much we missed?
Yeah, it was just like a tap, like this.
Like a second?
Yeah.
Okay,
not that much. Not that much.
Okay, anyways,
Just
you know,
like...
don't worry about it. You know what, guys? When I review the video before I join all the clips together, if we missed anything really important, I'll just come back and tell you guys. Okay, so we're going to... Okay, here's my pasta. And I'm just going to... Hold on. Okay, I'm just going to pour this right in the middle. Hot stuff. I'm just letting it drip out. And there's our oven. It's ready. And I'm just taking the spoon and pushing out. Thank you. Pushing out what's in the pot. Oh, boy. Unfortunately, I can't stick my hands in here because this is really hot stuff because we just pulled it off. Okay, there's a little bit more, and I know my mom's looking. She's behind my shoulder. Believe me, I know my mom. And she's looking to see if I got it all. And guys, if you're blind and you're making this, put it down. You're blind and you're making this, and really, you don't get half a... Leave it. No, leave it, Mom. See what I mean? So this is what old people do. I'm talking and she takes the pot so she can swipe up the quarter cup maybe that's left in here. And I'm not even finished doing what I'm doing. So this is what sighted people and moms do. And she means well. So I've got the sauce here. Sometimes this will boil over if your pot isn't big enough. So if you have an oven liner, put it down. Now, spread the sauce with your wooden spoon to your edges. Let it have more in the middle than on the corners. I understand what you guys are saying. Whoops, I just did an accident. I understand that somebody might say, well, that's going to be uneven. It's the edges you don't want to boil over. Okay? So, sorry, I need to come around this way. Because the pan is huge. I can't move the pot. I need to move me. Okay? So I'm moving it into the corners now. And I am using my finger to help me feel where I've got sauce. Can I turn the pan to make it easier for me? I don't know. Okay. Hot stuff. I am going to turn the pan because it's a little hard. Okay. We've got a lot here. Okay. And I'm just spreading it to the corners. And believe me, it is uneven. We know. We're not done yet. Okay. I'm gonna turn the pan again. Okay, now, I do have sauce everywhere, but it's uneven. Oh, wow, wow, wow. Remember my parchment paper trick? That's what I would do right now. I would take parchment paper, because this is too hot to put my hands on. So I would take parchment paper and I would press the sauce into place. But since I have my mom here, there's no reason for me to do that. Ela, mami. Okay. Quando spread even, che piace che αυτό που είναι μες στη κατσαρόλα. You want the spoon too?
Yeah, just.
So mom doesn't need the parchment paper because she can do it with a spoon. As a blind person, I need the parchment paper because I need to press it. Please, if you're going to use the parchment paper trick, don't press down hard. Put the parchment paper on the... Here, I'll just grab a piece and show you. Hold on. Two. That's a little, mommy. Because this is really hot stuff, what I would do, I'm just going to do a corner. Mommy, I'm just going to do a corner. I would put the parchment paper and I would press down. And oh, it sticks to the parchment paper. Never mind. So that's not a good option. Okay. Never mind. Forget it. That isn't going to work. So, let's troubleshoot. What are we going to do? At this point, I would continue spreading with the spoon slowly. And then, okay, mommy, and then I would actually put my fingers and feel. So if you touch it gently, you ain't going to burn yourself. So for example, there's a lot here and there's not enough here. See? So mom just pushed it. She just pushed some to the side because I felt that at the side. So I would use my fingers to feel. You can't dip your finger in this. It's hot. But you can touch it on top lightly. Okay. Excuse me, I need to wipe my face from the steam and the heat. Okay. And I'm going to grab a napkin to wipe off the edges. Apo se daksi. Tili na po na gonna wipe off Toto's edge.
Okay.
Finished here?
Yeah.
Okay, so she finished this side, so I'm going to wipe the edge of the pan. Okay. Yeah, we're good. Από κάτω έχεις τελειώσει? Okay, let's wipe the bottom edge. So even my mom gets it on the edges. It's not a big deal. Okay. And the only reason I'm wiping it off the edges, well, one, because we want it to look pretty. And two, we don't want this to burn on our pan. Right, Mommy? Okay, we need another one. So while Mom is spreading, I'm just cleaning up the edges around. Okay. Από πάνω το έχεις τελειώσει?
Ναι.
Okay. Can I turn it, Mommy? I'm going to turn the pan. So I can do this edge now. I'm doing the top long edge. Which actually, the top long edge is fine. Okay. And, all right. All the edges are as clean as you can get them.
Okay.
Now we're gonna sprinkle the cheese. You guys know how to sprinkle cheese, Mami Piasa. You know how to sprinkle cheese. I find the top corner of my pan and I let it drop while I go across. Okay? And you're gonna do that throughout the entire top of the pie. Let's call it a pie. It's not really a pie, but what else can you call it? The casserole. We've called it a casserole. Okay? So this is ready to go into the oven. I'm going to grab my oven mitts while Mom is sprinkling the cheese. And you can, if you want, you can...
Okay.
Just stay here though. You can, sorry, I was telling my mom to stay here just in case. You can put all your kefalotiri cheese in your casserole and use freshly grated Romano on top, for example, Romano cheese. But we like the kefalotiri. Okay, so I'm going to turn the pan the right way because we've turned it and we need to turn it the long way. Okay, now this is really heavy. So, I'm going to open up the oven door. I'm going to grab the pan with both my hands and all my strength. Whoa. I forgot to, sorry. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Forgot to bless the food. Okay. So, I need to put it down. Okay. I just leaned it on my oven door because it got too heavy for me. So I'm going to lift again. I'm going to put it in. I'm going to put my oven mitts on. Whew. The heat. The reason I put the oven mitts on is because I want to center it. So I want to feel the oven walls without burning myself, and I feel the bars of the oven rack. One on this side, one on this side, one on this side, one on this side. One and one. Okay, we're centered. Turn. Ooh, the heat of that. Where's the timer? 1 hour. And the timer's working. So, the last time I made it, it needed about an hour and 10 minutes. I'm going to check on it in an hour. If it doesn't have the color or the texture that I want, I'm going to feel it with my fingers. And I'm going to determine from my experience if it's golden enough. 1 hour and 5 minutes, you're safe. But it may need may need 110. We'll see. So see you guys in approximately an hour. Okay guys, so an hour and 10 minutes. I basically looked at my casserole. I'm gonna take it out of the oven now. It's been an hour and 10 minutes. Oh my God, it's heavy. I'm just gonna place it on my oven top. Now, okay. I looked at it at the 1 hour and 5 minutes, and I went like this with my hands. And I felt around the casserole. So see here, right there? It's really soft there. So I went around and I felt with my hands to see if most of the crust is very lightly. You touch it lightly. Don't press in, you'll make a hole. Lightly with your fingers like this. And I went around and it was very, it still had too many soft parts. So that tells me as a blind person it needs more color. Now because I know my oven and I've been told at around the 1 hour and 5 minute mark when I checked it, I rotated the pan completely around. So I brought the back to the front and the front to the back. And I left it in for approximately another 5-6 minutes. And now when I feel maybe 1 or 2 soft spots. Most of it has a beautiful crust, beautiful color. And like I said, this needs to cool down. You can't cut it up. The sauce needs to firm up. Everything needs to firm up. Everything needs to stop boiling. So this needs to sit for about 2 hours. When this cools down and it's time to cut it, I will come back and show you. Your first piece might not come out perfect. That sometimes happens with casseroles. Your second piece will come out better. But I will show you in a couple of hours. So let's let this cool down. And I'll see you just before dinner time. Hi guys. So we're back again. Pardon me if I sound really tired, I am. So our Pastitsio, that's P-A-S-T-I-T-S-I-O. Try saying that. Pastitsio. Put it all together, Pastitsio. So our Pastitsio's been sitting for probably about 3 hours. If I touch the pan, it's still hot. But it's been sitting for 3 hours, so it's okay to cut. So, go ahead, Mommy. So, my mom's going to start cutting it up just because I'm exhausted at this point. Now, remember, I told you guys that the first piece may not come out intact. But that's okay. It's to be expected. So, she has a spatula in her hands, and she's got a knife. She's just cutting it up. She's not going to cut the whole thing up. She's going to cut a few pieces. So, it's still warm. And this is something that tastes amazing the next day. Okay. Okay. So she's going to keep serving. I'm just going to grab a fork. Here, come around this way. Here in the light, you can see it really well. So I have it under the light, and the cameraman is just showing you what it looks like, so you can see all the meat sauce and the pasta. So it's a square piece, and it's got the white sauce on top. So I'm just gonna cut. Well, that's a really big piece. I don't think I can put all that in my mouth, but here, I'm just gonna try a bit. Absolutely fantastic. So, guys, that's our episode for today. Obviously, I just had a taste, and now all of a sudden my tummy is turning. So, I love you guys as always, and I hope you try this recipe. I know that it looks like a difficult recipe, and it might be a little bit overwhelming at the beginning. But follow my instructions. You'll have a great recipe. You'll impress people. Is there anything I forgot to mention? I told you guys about the tomato paste. I told you guys about the size of the pan. Yeah, we're good. So about an hour and 10 minutes at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Make sure you use Greek cheese. Use the best ingredients for the best taste. And this will taste better, even better tomorrow. Anyhow, don't forget, share and like this video. Subscribe to either zoesblindkitchencorner@gmail.com or Whose Blind Life Is It Anyway? And of course, you can email us at those addresses at gmail.com. So, a blind kiss to you, definitely to all of you. Pardon me for being so tired. Love you guys. See you on the next episode. Bye for now. Say bye, Mom.
Bye.
I'm your host, Zoe Fiogos. With sincere love and gratitude, I thank you for watching Zoe's Blind Kitchen Corner.